DEI is just a rebranded version of hating white people.
DEI, in this case, stands for divisive, erroneous, and insidious.
DEI, which stands for didn't earn it.
Discrimination, exclusion, and indoctrination.
DEI. DEI stands for Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, and Ice Cube.
Ending affirmative action so far has not helped Asian students. If you look at the stats that have been released so far, the universities where they experienced some slight gains have been canceled out by the other universities that experienced slight drops. So on average, it really didn't help us Asians. It did negatively impact a lot for Black students and Latino students. For example, at MIT, went from 50% Black to only 5% Black, which is crazy. So if it didn't help Asians or Black or Latino students, who did it help? It helped white students. So if you're white, this is great. But I want to remind people that during affirmative action, colleges were only selecting qualified students, okay? They weren't selecting students just based on their skin color. That's not how it worked.
Y'all, so I'm talking to my mom and she's talking about DEI. She comes from a different mindset I don't agree with. But basically she's saying, oh, it's okay that companies aren't pushing DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, programs that really help people of diverse backgrounds, marginalized groups, find opportunities that they qualify for. She's saying, oh, well, you know that you got your job because you can do the work. And I tell her, I'm like, Mom, that's not what DEI is. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, or whatever you want to call it that's similar, it's never been about, oh, let's just hire anyone off of the street. It's about diversifying the pool instead of just hiring, oh, your friend, the guy you went to college with, and Tommy down the street that you know. Have you also looked at this woman here that's qualified? Have you looked at this Black woman or man that's qualified, this Asian woman or man that's qualified, this Hispanic man or woman that's qualified? Broaden your pool so that you are also considering other people that are not people that you know, or people that look exactly like you or come from the exact background like you. It's not about, oh, let's just hire these Black people off the street that are not qualified. Oftentimes, and mind you, I've worked at multiple companies where I'm working to find talent. So I'm looking for talent and I'm trying to get them through processes that may require assessments, multiple interviews, different rounds of interviews, behavior-based interviews, simulation, like all types of things, right? So you're putting people, regardless of the background, through all these different scenarios to get a job. So that's one. It's not like a simple process of like, oh, hey, what's your name? Tell me about your background. Okay, you're hired. No, that's not typically the case. What's happening is, and again, I've worked at large companies, Nestle, Amazon companies, large media companies. None of them are saying, let's just hire these Black people that are unqualified. No, we're broadening the pool of candidates that we're looking at and saying, hey, hiring manager, you're hiring for this position. You can't just hire your cousin. You can't just hire your friend that you went to college with. Are they even qualified? A lot of times it's the people that are close with the hiring teams that they know that they will push the qualifications for. Oh, maybe we don't need a degree. Maybe we just need 4 years of experience instead of 7 because this is my friend or this is someone I know. They're not doing that for diverse candidates. And oftentimes when you're broadening that pool of candidates, it's showing, oh, actually, we had not considered this group of people and they're actually better. They're more qualified. They meet every qualification and our preferred skills that we were looking for. Let's actually hire them. And then they're hired. Maybe they perform great. Maybe they don't perform great. Oftentimes, based on my experience, they often are high performers. Because there's a reason why you list all these qualifications and skills and say you want X, Y, and Z, because you're hoping that the person will be a top performer in the job. I am hating seeing these messages, including Black people, where they're saying, oh, they're just putting people to school that are unqualified. They're just hiring people that are unqualified. No, that's not what's happening. Based on my experience. Now, if you worked at a company and that's what they did, they pulled old girl off the street and said, hey, you're Black, let's just hire you. Or, hey, you're a woman, we're just going to hire you. You don't have qualifications. We're just going to do it. Let's just do it. No, oftentimes every single candidate, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever it is, you're going through a series of, I will call them hoops, a series of hoops to get a job. And yes, I've been working as a recruiter. A lot of people don't like recruiters because of, I'll just hold that for another video. But oftentimes it's because they think the recruiter is making them go through all these hoops. No. It's likely the hiring team. But anyway, let me leave it there. I just wanted to provide that context because sometimes I can't believe my ears of what people are saying and what they're thinking. And it's like, you're going against something that ultimately benefits you or someone that looks like you or comes from your background. Yes, it benefits people of different backgrounds because it allows the opportunity. It's not giving someone a job, it's giving them the opportunity that they might not have had or likely would not have had before.
Here's something I didn't know until I got into recruitment. There is so much discrimination when it comes to recruitment and hiring. I'll give an example of early on in my career when I realized that discrimination was a real thing in the hiring process. I just started working on a new search. I was looking for mechanical engineers, and I started sending some resumes through of candidates that I thought were a good fit. And basically every single candidate that I sent through that had an Indian-looking name or a foreign-looking name, the hiring manager just kept rejecting them. And so I asked the hiring manager, I said, what's going on with this? And they basically said, anyone with a name like that's going to require sponsorship, and we're not going to sponsor anybody outside of the U.S. And I was like, are you sure that they require sponsorship? And they were like, yeah, people with those types of names always do. And this was a VP. This was a really high-level person in an organization. And that was the exact moment that I realized that discrimination was extremely real. Now, at that point, I stopped working with the client, but it was very eye-opening for me. And it really just goes to show that even something like your name can really impact whether or not you get hired in an organization.
Hey, so the point I had earlier about DEI was really getting to the point of DEI is not here to replace anything. If anything, it actually benefits corporations the most, because just like when you're expanding your demographic for customers, you're actually gaining more profit. It's benefiting you as a company, what you can bring in if you're an entrepreneur, whatever. When you're expanding, when you're broadening, it's normally better. And so for the talent market, the more diverse, the more competitive, the better talent you're going to have. Even if you yourself feel like you've had advantages and all of a sudden things are shifting, well, it benefits you too, because it's going to push you to be even better and even more competitive. So that's all I wanted to share. Bye.
How do you know you a diversity hire in corporate leadership?
For my audio listeners, they want your face on everything. Major meetings don't include you. Your ideas are constantly stolen. You're the only minority.
DEI is just a rebranded version of hating white people.
So something I noted in my live stream that I'm unable to actually slice and add into this video, thanks to YouTube, lovely, was breaking down the meaning of DEI. It's an acronym. It stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. You really can't be successful as a corporation, gain benefits without all of those aspects. Diversity is really just, as the name is, you're looking at your talent and you are determining in different segments, different job families. Well, what does my team look like? Do they all look like men? Are they all white men? Are they all Asian men? Are they all black women? Typically, at the C-suite, it is white women, especially when you get into certain sectors.
Okay, so thank you so much for bringing this up during our one-on-one. I definitely wanted to hit on that, but you brought it up first, so thank you. Now, this is in regards to the multiple layoffs that you see, and you have witnessed, maybe you've had a lot of POC and women colleagues that are not here anymore, that are no longer on Slack. Well, I want to speak to our executive leadership team and our C-suite and our senior leadership team now. I know they appear all white, but there's diversity there, okay? So Dylan is German. Seth is from Russia, okay? So Karen is from Ireland. Okay, so I don't want you to think for a second that we overlook diversity in these leadership roles. Okay, Todd just got back his ancestry DNA, and he has a little bit of Africa in there for him. Okay, so he actually just had to join our Black ERG. So just keep in mind when you're seeing people at the office, there's no way to really know. Like you wouldn't know that Tom is from Australia. Okay, 3 generations ago, he had family in Australia. So I want us to take a critical lens on identity here. Okay, we really do believe in diversity. Okay, we thrive on it. Okay, so let's just not assume that everybody we're letting go just because of based off what you see. Okay, because Shaniqua, she got her ancestry chart back. She actually had a lot of UK in there. Okay, so there's no really way to do these things or deal with these things, but I do just want to let you know that the next time that we have our all hands and our founders and our executive leadership team and our senior leadership team, and they're all there, let's just be mindful, So once again, to protect the needs of the business, we did kind of have to restructure and let some people go. Now, the identities of people that we let go, that's neither here nor there, okay? That's not really important. It really came down to performance, okay? It came down to performance, okay?
So diversity is really about, broadening the talent that you have. People of different backgrounds, marginalized group, women. Equity is all about actually, when you have talent that you are recruiting and hiring, you're actually paying them equitably. The other piece is inclusion, because if you're hiring people and they're all diverse, great, but let's say you have all men on your leadership team and you're adding a handful of women, do those women also feel included and able to speak up about different things? Do they feel heard? If there's a situation like someone recently on YouTube, Gwen has a YouTube channel on here. I'll try to link her if she comments on this video. She mentioned Bath and Body Works having this candle and it looking like the KKK. And I instantly, with the picture, saw it. As she did not. So even thinking about diversity of different backgrounds, ages, like it goes way deeper than what I think a lot of people just see as black or white, races and ethnicities. Okay, now that you have the people, can they actually speak up and add value to the teams? Can they save us from embarrassing PR issues that if we did have a more diverse team, we could have avoided? Can they help us reach broader audiences as we're trying to expand into different markets of people and grow our company, grow the type of products that we can offer to different types of people? If we're targeting women, maybe we don't push an ad. If we're Bumble, we don't push that ad that says avoid celibacy or whatever it said, right? That really made a lot of women unhappy, which is a key demographic for dating apps.
If we have had to expand our notion of diversity, if we have had to correct for access to equity, if we have had to demand inclusion, it is DEI. And so for me, this is a through line. There's nothing new about the work. We're just using different letters to describe it. Because DEI is about how we guarantee access to the American dream for all. Diversity is all people. Equity is fair opportunity. Inclusion means a pathway to the American dream. There are 3 ways to get there: education, what you know; the economy, what you do; and election, who's in charge of making sure you can have the rest of what you need. And if we do not have access, if we do not have diversity in our process, and if we do not have inclusion for all, then we do not have a real opportunity for the American dream.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion work is not meant to be harmonious. I think a lot of organizations cop out of doing this work because they want to say that it causes too much upheaval or disruption. The redistribution of power should be disruptive, and examining issues concerning equity should be disruptive. Diversity, equity, and inclusion work means you're doing things like culture assessment and power assessment. It means you're examining things like your parental leave policy. It means you're really looking at your accessibility within your organization and how you treat disabled employees. It means you're asking questions like, should we fire this person who's a great performer but makes everyone else uncomfortable? I think when there's this fear of the fact that this work is disruptive, it shows how little we care about the emotional well-being of diverse employees. I say this because I've worked with organizations that have gone through reorgs and had to lay people off. I've watched my friends get laid off from organizations who have made poor financial decisions and have had to let go of talent. These are things that are deeply disruptive, but because they work towards business needs, we say that this type of disruption is okay. Disruption is part of organizational change. It's an expected part of organizational change. If you're interested in doing the deep work that DEI work requires, you need to normalize upheaval and disruption as being part of that process. You need to normalize grief as being part of that process. And you need to normalize joy as being part of that process too, but that's a whole other video. For me, this work has never been about harmony. It's been about equity and justice.
I think it's really sad to see people of different backgrounds who may have benefited from these different plans themselves speak out against it. And they're not really understanding the meaning of it and the benefit. It's not targeting white men in any way. It's not saying, hey, we can't hire white men anymore. It's not saying, hey, y'all white men, y'all have to give up your job and we're going to give it to this person over here that's not qualified, right? It is offering the opportunities to a broader group of people with the hope of actually enhancing the talent pool, because when you look at a broader group of people, you're actually going to see people with more skills, more knowledge, a different set of skills and abilities that you may not have even had before, you may not even realize you needed or could benefit from. And oftentimes that enhances teams. It makes them better. With hiring in general, most people have to jump through hoops and do a lot to gain a role and prove themselves. And, yes, there could be people that are of diverse backgrounds that get a job and they don't perform well, ultimately. But that happens to many people. No one's going to call out white men that don't perform well and say, oh, it's because you're white. No, it's not what's happening. People get into jobs. They may not perform well for an array of different reasons. It's not due to them necessarily being unqualified for a job in most cases. So I hope that helps a bit with some of the commentary that I've provided here. Thank you for listening.